Yeah, I think Dylan on his own can make a massive impact on this football team. I mean, we saw it on Saturday, and then I think when you add in a more willing runner in Avery Johnson, I think that gives you one of the most dynamic quarterback running back duos from a running perspective in the Big 12, if not the country. You saw it especially in that first half. But when you're running zone read, power read with those two guys as your weapons, I mean the defense there's not a right choice, right?
Hello and welcome to another Three Maw Pod. I am your host, Cole Manbeck, and at last, Curry Sexton and I have a Kansas State win to talk about. And we have some positive plays to talk about as we go through the All-22 recapping Kansas State's 34-20 victory over UCF on Saturday in Manhattan, which called for our toast from our friends over at Holiday Distillery. I got home Saturday around 5 o'clock from Manhattan, poured a couple drinks, and just sat back and watched college football. Not a lot of better feelings than watching your team win on a Saturday at 11 a.m., kick back, relax, watch some great games in the evening. And it helps when your rival in-state drops a tough game as well. I hate to drag Kansas. Sorry, Nick, on that one. But there were some great games on Saturday night that were enjoyable, and poured some Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon, sat back and enjoyed it. So hopefully you got stocked up for your tailgate. If you didn't, you've got numerous tailgates remaining on the season to get picked up your Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon from Holiday Distillery, or have it on hand for a watch party as you sit back and watch the Cats this Saturday take on Baylor at 11 a.m. in Waco. Curry, as I mentioned, we're going to do the All-22, and we're going to talk about Dylan Edwards and his return in just a minute. But at a high level, I'd love to just get your thoughts on like what you saw from the team as far as like an energy aspect and how they flew around to the football. They made some mistakes. Obviously, they gave up some big plays on the defensive end, but it felt like a different team that was really locked in, engaged, and looked like they actually loved football on Saturday. What did you see from that angle?
Yeah, absolutely. You put it well. I think the biggest difference we saw Saturday from the prior probably three games was just a lot of energy and effort. And it wasn't perfect. I mean, there's still issues, right? Still gave up a number of explosives on the defensive side of the ball. But we looked like a team that had a passion for football on Saturday, and that was fun to watch. And really, it was from the early stages of that football game. I think Avery Johnson set the tone with a big run early where he took a couple big hits. I think the defense came out and was flying around, was getting after the quarterback, was hitting people, and was creating turnover opportunities early on. I think that set the tone. I mean, that looked like the defense early on that we saw in Dublin for the first half of that football game. So that was fun to watch. And then, ultimately you got Dylan Edwards back in there, right? And he just naturally, with his speed and electrifying ability, provides a boost to the team and to the stadium like nobody else can. And so I think all of those things really brought some life to that team and to that stadium. And then not to mention, throw a guy in like Blake Barnett, and people have been wanting to see more quarterback run game, and they bring Blake in for a series, and in two different plays, he runs guys over. And there's not a lot that gets a team fired up like watching a quarterback run a defensive player over, a couple of times. And so I think the team was obviously in it more on Saturday. There was a life in that team and in that sideline that we hadn't seen in the prior three football games. The effort was immensely better. And obviously we were able to come away with a victory. Now we'll talk about some of the issues that we saw on Saturday. It wasn't perfect, but the effort was better. The outcome was better. And those two things really, I think, go hand in hand.
Before we get to Dylan, I do want to ask you on Blake Barnett, because John brought up on the postgame show, he didn't love leaving Avery Johnson in at the same time with Blake Barnett out there. Like, what did you make of like how they used him and the formation and the structure of that with using Blake Barnett in the way they did?
Yeah. I mean, I really like it, to be honest, because both of those guys have a dynamic skill set. I mean, they're different builds, right? Avery tall and slender. Blake, got a little bit of a thicker build, but they both have speed. Avery probably more agility than Blake, but by leaving them in and leaving them in the backfield together, you create a lot of stress. You put a lot of stress on that defense, because on any given play, either one of them can run, whether they're in the running back position or the quarterback position, and either one of them can throw the football. So now had we thrown Avery out of receiver, then I wouldn't have liked it. I hate when a team goes to Wildcat and they throw the other quarterback out of receiver, because that just tells you that, one, it's most likely a run, and two, you're never going to throw the football to that quarterback who's split out. So I liked the fact that we kept them in the backfield together. I liked the fact that Blake was taking snaps. Avery's in the running back position. Avery's taking snaps. Blake's next to him in the running back position. I think that was a creative twist. I would have liked to have seen us come back to that again, right? It was successful. We got a couple first downs doing that, and then we didn't see it again. And maybe it was only intended to go for a couple plays or a series at most, but I think there's obviously something there. I think there's more creativity that can be had there. And so I'd love to see that become more of a package that we utilize game to game.
Hear that, John? Curry thinks you're an idiot for questioning that. So, John, if you're listening, stupid take on the post-game show. To that point, Curry, like and John did make this, and I agreed with it, and I think he made the point in game. But like, if you're gonna run him, and obviously he's a physical runner and just a little bit more durable and built different than Avery Johnson, like I'd like to just line him up at the goal line in a quarterback sneak, like the Eagles do with Jalen Hurts and other teams, like push him into the end zone.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that's a Dana Dimmel, Bill Snyder special, right? From Snyder too. Quarterback run game in college football is the great equalizer. And it gives you as an offensive unit the ability to put a hat on a hat, to account for every defender that's in the box, because you're using your running back as a lead blocker. Because obviously when you're handing the ball to your running back, your quarterback is not serving as a lead blocker. And so I think I think putting him in the shotgun and running a Wildcat at the goal line or in short yardage situations, but I think also putting him under center and doing some sort of tush push. He's obviously a kid. He's got a good low center of gravity. I think Blake's only like 6'1", but he's about 215, 220 pounds. Obviously a well-built kid, a kid who's got some strength to him. He's the type of kid who could have some success in those short yardage situations. So yes, absolutely would love to see that, because I think it is a difference maker. Now, I know there's this dynamic of and I think this was probably part of the analysis in keeping Avery on the field was, okay, we can't have this idea that they're swapping, right? Avery's still out there. Avery's still our guy. And so I think that's probably always something that people are giving thought to. Hopefully we can all agree that in short yardage situations, especially at the goal line, we're not putting Avery under center to do a sneak. We've probably not done that, but maybe once in his career. And generally we aren't even running him in short yardage situations. And so to give the team the best opportunity, the best chance to win, I think we have to consider packages like that, even if that means Avery going off the field for a couple of snaps. So absolutely would love to see that more, because I think Blake brings a dynamic that we don't have on this football team.
Yeah, I think I only recall one QB sneak by Avery, and I want to say it was like a 4th and 1 against Oklahoma State or somebody last year when they did it. We made it this far and into the show without talking about Dylan Edwards much, and we're going to make this the top storyline of the show, brought to you by our friends over at Elenco, the home remodeler of choice throughout Northeast Kansas, the Kansas City metro and surrounding areas. Elenco is a family-owned and operated company by a tremendous family of K-Staters. They've got you covered for all your home improvement needs, from bathroom remodels featuring the Kohler Luckstone shower system to siding, premium window replacements, doors, and much more. Go to elencohome.com to get a hold of them for all your home improvement projects and support a K-State owned business that will provide you with the best service and quality you can find. Curry, the first 4 games this year, K-State's not been able to run the ball at the level we've grown accustomed to seeing from a Chris Klieman team. The most rushing yards in a game this season was 143, and the team's running backs had only combined for 248 yards on 62 carries entering Saturday. Obviously, that changed against UCF. K-State nearly doubled its season high for rushing yards in a game with 266 on 44 carries, and it can be attributed to what we expected to see all season with the dynamic quarterback-running back combination of Avery Johnson and the return of a healthy Dylan Edwards, who ran for 166 yards on 20 carries. And following essentially just one game, Curry, Edwards now leads the team in rushing by 37 yards. What kind of impact can a healthy Dylan Edwards and a more willing runner in Avery Johnson have on this offense as we look ahead?
Yeah, I think Dylan on his own can make a massive impact on this football team. I mean, we saw it on Saturday. And then I think when you add in a more willing runner in Avery Johnson, I think that gives you one of the most, dynamic quarterback running back duos from a running perspective in the Big 12, if not the country. You saw it especially in that first half. But when you're running zone read, power read with those two guys as your weapons, the defense, there's not a right choice, right? And so absolutely those two guys, when they're both healthy and available and committed to running the football, make K-State a significantly better football team. And so was really pleased to see Dylan out there on Saturday. Was really pleased to see that, to see that he appeared to be healthy. And the juice that he brought to the team and to the stadium was just unbelievable. From the early stages, obviously some big runs, some opportunities to see him out in space where he's showing off his speed. One thing that I love about Dylan Edwards, and I was watching the game with one of my old teammates, and we just kept talking about how, hey, despite his size, he's always getting yards after contact, and he's always pushing the pile forward. Rarely do you see him get shoved backwards. And that's just not something that we've seen from our bigger running backs this year. Those guys have not been falling forward, not been pushing the pile forward, moving their feet and getting extra yardage. And Dylan did that on Saturday time and time again. And so, love to have him back. Obviously, now it's easy to wonder what could have been. What do things look like now if we had Dylan for the first really 4 football games? But I think having him back, having him healthy now for the Big 12 stretch is key for this football team.
Well, it's going to help Avery Johnson too from a rushing the ball perspective too. Dylan Edwards puts so much stress on the defense. Like when we look at the all 22, and I only pulled a couple of the plays, but like they got him out on the edge a ton on Saturday, off tackle, out on the boundary. And like he puts so much stress on a defense to have to defend the whole width of the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah. On that sweep action, on that jet sweep motion and what they can do out of that. And Avery can pull the ball and he can go the other way or he can go up the middle. And so there's just a different element to how defenses have to defend Kansas State with that. And to your point, Curry, we said on the season preview show that we did and reminded folks that, like, according to Pro Football Focus, last year, DJ Giddens led the Big 12 in yards after contact. The second leading rusher in yards after contact in the conference was Dylan Edwards. So he is a physical runner. People see him as a speed guy because he is. He's very explosive. But how many times just on Saturday alone did we see him running through arm tackles, see him breaking tackles, falling forward for an extra 3 yards, bouncing off defenders? He had 7 carries of 10 yards or more on Saturday. K-State's running backs on the season had combined for 10 rushes of 10 yards or more. Dylan Edwards has had 98 carries now in his college football career at Kansas State. 25 of them, or 26%, went for 10 yards or more. It's a pretty insane number. And so, and if you look at just his last 2 games that he's played really in full, the Rutgers game and this one, fully healthy, playing a full game, 362 yards on the ground on 38 carries, 9.5 yards per rush. So, makes a world of difference. Which I guess that brings me to the next point here. How important is it for Kansas State to get Jace Brown and JB Bradley back at receiver, though, to really fully maximize and get a look at what this K-State offense could be? Because we haven't gotten to see it with all 4 of those guys, with Dylan Edwards and the 3 receivers.
Yeah, it's critical. We've seen all of them. We've seen bits and pieces of what they can do, but we haven't seen what any one of them could do in an offense with all of its weapons available. Obviously, we know through 4 games, that Jace Brown has the ability to stretch the field and make big plays. He's Avery's go-to target. He's one of the most important players on our team. Jerron Tibbs, I think, has shown us that he's probably not a guy who's going to stretch the field, but he's big. He's got a good catch radius and is a more of a possession receiver, short and intermediate routes. And JB Bradley's shown us kind of a similar ability, but maybe a little bit more of an ability to go down the football field and make a play. And so I think having all 4 of those guys available is going to produce the best version of this football team, and it's going to give Avery Johnson the best chance to be the best player that he can be. Because when you mix in those 4 guys, plus a little bit of Adonis Moisey, plus Garrett Oakley, Lincoln Cure, Will Ancio, Braden Loft, and Will Swanson. There's a whole host of weapons in that team, on that offensive unit. And like you said, we haven't got to see them all together yet. And so I think getting those 4 guys, those top 4 guys healthy is ultimately when we're going to see this offense at its best.
Well, I sure hope we get to see it before it's too late. It just kind of makes me think of like the Chiefs with Worthy, Rice, and Hollywood Brown, that they'd never really gotten to see those guys on the field at once. And speaking of the Chiefs, we want to call all Chiefs fans that you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be back to do the All 22 with Curry when we come back from break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home, because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise, because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity, because you won't be disappointed and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
All right, Nick, whenever you're ready, let's just go ahead and roll the footage here, and we'll get to play number one, which actually is a miss here. This is on the second drive of the game. I think K-State ultimately turns it over on downs here, but you can see Curry, clean pocket, good protection for Avery Johnson, misses on Tibbs, who, has a touchdown if it's a good throw. What do you see here?
Yeah, so this is a concept we've seen us run multiple times this season. We saw it a couple of times in the North Dakota game, late, and I believe even once late in the Army game. And so basically this is some sort, it's essentially a 4 vertical scheme, right? I'm not sure if Adonis Moisey is supposed to be running, a hitch route or an under on the, to the field, but essentially you're getting 4 verticals. Looks like you're getting a little bit of a cover 4 look here from excuse me. Yeah, you're getting actually, I'm not actually sure what this coverage is because that safety to the boundary jacks this up, kind of running inside the number 2 receiver. You're getting some sort of zone look. Outside receiver switch, which means that the tight end on the inside of the boundary runs toward the numbers, and then the outside guy runs in on the hash. Really nice route by Jerron Tibbs here. This is just a missed throw. You can see that he comes open the minute he clears that safety who's underneath of him. And all Avery needs to do here is throw the football right over the top of the head of that safety who's retreating back to Jerron Tibbs. You can see it from this angle. You can see that referee in the end zone. That's essentially where Avery needs to throw that football. Put it out in front of Jerron, let Jerron go get it, because the only guy who's able to make a play on that football is the cornerback chasing from behind. So again, just a missed throw. I mean, this is honestly lucky that it wasn't an interception because he threw the ball so far behind Duran. But well executed. If he puts it out in front of his guy, this is a touchdown early for the Cats.
By the way, hilarious here to watch JB Nelson, the right guard, just pancake the defensive tackle twice. Just wallops into the ground. But yeah, to your point, Curry, I mean, Tibbs has the width of the field there to his right where you can miss, and lead him across the field a little bit, and it's a touchdown still. You just got to miss right. Can't miss over.
Yeah, throw the ball out in front of your receiver where only he can go get it. I mean, really, I'm not a quarterback, so I can't say it's an easy throw because I can't throw at all. But for a quarterback, it's an easy throw. Just put a little air into the ball, let your guy go get it, because that safety who's sitting in the middle of the field, who's retreating to go chase Duran, he's not catching up to that thing unless it's woefully underthrown. Again, the only guy who can make a play is that safety who's coming from the boundary. And as long as you throw the ball out in front of your guy, he's the only guy who's going to go get it. So just a missed opportunity here. I think one thing that Duran could have done a little bit better is maybe press a little bit higher up the field toward that outside corner to keep that leverage on him, to keep him from closing so quickly. But this is just a missed throw. I bet if Avery had that one back, he'd convert it and we'd score 6 there.
No. Well, this next play set the tone for the game. I thought, Curry, 3rd and 11 on the first drive of the game. Avery Johnson drops back, sees an opening, and just takes off, shows an assertiveness and running the football that we maybe haven't seen from him so far this year. From the end zone view here, you can see it from a different look as well. You can see he lowers his shoulder at the end. He doesn't just go down. He sheds a tackle, doesn't try to dive to the ground, and gets an extra few yards. But this is what we've been wanting to see from Avery Johnson, and we finally did on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing got to note, and same thing is true on that last snap, but excellent job by the offensive line from the folks up front on this one. UCF bring 6-ish guys on this play, and offensive line along with I believe a running back do a really nice job of picking it up and leaving Avery a clean pocket. But the outside rusher gets chipped by the tight end and runs so far up the field that it creates an obvious running lane for Avery. Avery identifies that and uses his feet. This is the exact type of play that we've all been, dying to see from Avery Johnson. It's not a scheduled run play. This is no design. This is improvisation, but sometimes that's when Avery is at his best. He sees an opportunity and he goes and gets 25 yards. And the thing that I think everybody in the stadium, and I'm guessing on that sideline, loved the most is just what you said. I mean, he has an opportunity there where he could have easily slid or gone down in front of that safety who's coming down on him. And instead, Avery lowers his shoulder, takes a hit, gets another 4 or 5 yards, takes another hit before he ends a great run. So this was a tone setter for this football game. Love to see this from Avery Johnson and want to see more of this from Avery.
Yeah, and to be clear, Curry, I mean, this isn't a design quarterback draw, right? I mean, this looks like a design pass, and he just sees an opening and goes.
Yep. Good recognition by Avery. I mean, the pocket was clean. The pocket was set up well. But again, that outside rusher to the field got pushed so far up the field on a chip that it created an obvious, and they were running a stunt on the inside. So it created an obvious a rushing lane for Avery. Avery identified that, and he went and made a play with his feet. And kind of not unlike what he did late in the North Dakota game to set us up for that winning touchdown. Sometimes the best, look at Lamar Jackson. I know I make that comparison regularly, but Lamar Jackson is at best when he's improvising, when he's using his feet in situations where maybe it wasn't designed that way. And that's when Avery Johnson is at his best in my mind as well. And so want to see more of this. Few times a football game is all that's needed. And if Avery does this more often, the pressure that's going to put on a defense is going to be immense.
Yeah. Poor pass rush integrity and staying in their lanes by UCF. But to your point, the offensive line, how many times have we seen them get burnt by a stunt this year, like what UCF just did, and they actually picked it up and passed things off properly here, which is an encouraging sign after a bye. Maybe they're getting a little bit better there up front. And
excellent work. Good coordination. I mean, it looked like it should, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And offensive line does feel like a group that the more they get to play together, that cohesion is maybe more important than any group.
That's true. Yeah, especially when you think about the fact that for the first 4 games, now 5 really, we're mixing and matching guys. Guys are rotating in and out. They're playing different positions, trying to find the best 5. We've got guys that have been banged up. I mean, we haven't seen Terrence Enos in a couple games. JB Nelson was out for the Army game. There's been, Devin Vass has all of a sudden come onto the scene and played, large amount of snaps on Saturday. We're still trying to find that those best five players, but you're right. When we start to get those best five guys, we're going to see some better cohesion among that unit, and I think they're going to play better week in and week out.
Yeah. All right. The next play here, the 75-yard run to Dylan Edwards, where, look, I mean, just to be frank here, Curry, obviously you see the burst by Dylan Edwards, but like that attempt to make the tackle there about 10 yards downfield, if that's any other running back on K-State's roster, he's probably not getting to that spot and breaking that tackle. This is where Dylan Edwards turns a 15-yard gain that most running backs on Kansas State's roster have into a 75-yard touchdown and gives you that explosive factor that you so desperately need. K-State blocks it really well, obviously, but again, just getting Dylan Edwards out to the perimeter, big hole, and he shows you the big playability here.
Yeah, and this is just excellent execution all the way around. I mean, it's outside zone to your speed running back. Offensive line does a good job of getting on blocks, or at least getting enough of those guys to create an opening. Dylan does an excellent job of being decisive, of hitting the hole and hitting it with purpose. That's not something that we've seen from our other running backs. And obviously is something that Dylan is excellent at. And the minute he gets that block on the outside, I think that's I can't tell who that is. I think that's Jerron Tibbs, who does a really nice job blocking on the perimeter. Once he gets that block on the outside, he's got to make one guy miss, and that guy's arm tackle doesn't work. You're right. Despite being the smallest running back on our roster, Dylan's probably the only guy who runs through that arm tackle, and I think that's just because his speed generates so much power. Plus, he's a well-built kid. So just excellent execution here. And I'll say one other thing that I like, we've seen, and I think been frustrated to a different degree by some of our maybe overuse of play action, boots or nakeds. And we kind of give that look here, which holds a couple of the defenders in the box, at least gives them something to bite on a little bit. And so I like the action on the backside. And again, awesome execution here. I love to see Dylan Edwards back. The minute he hit that hole, I was sitting in the south end zone. The minute he hit that hole, I just said he's gone, because that speed is different.
Yeah, and I think Portier, he does a nice job getting to the second level there to get on that linebacker, and then nice kick out blocks from tackle. And I'm glad you highlighted, I think it is Tibbs on the edge, because that was tremendous to sustain his block.
And I think Devin Vass, or Sam Hecht, I couldn't tell which one because similar numbers, but one of them does a nice job of getting off of a double team and getting out to a second level guy and just getting enough of them to prevent him from making the tackle. So again, good execution by the offensive line, biggest play of the season.
All right, Nick, what do we got next? All right, Curry, I've been begging for this play. I mean, I texted you guys like 3 weeks ago, and when they ran this, I mean, you sent the text on Saturday, the tight end throwback. To me, this play almost works 100% of the time when I see other teams do it, and Bill Snyder used to run it on occasion. In the 1.0 era, I remember he ran it against Texas in 2002. They rolled L. Roberson out to one side, threw back across the field to Thomas Hill for a touchdown in that game in Manhattan. Here they run it to Willie Ancio. It's a delayed block scheme, right, where Willie Ancio stays in the block for a second and a half, sells that. The defense forgets all about him. You roll the quarterback out, and it's wide open for a touchdown. My only criticism of this, Curry, would be that I'd love to use it in a bigger play scenario where you could get a chunk play instead of the goal line on 1st and goal at the 3. But, hey, I'm glad to like this out there.
And it tends to work well on the goal line because it's such a condensed space. There's so much traffic. Defense is typically playing man-to-man, which they appear to be playing here. And so it works. It just works best. I mean, it has best odds of working in a goal-to-go situation. And so, yeah, I would love to use it in a chunk yardage situation, but typically it's going to be most effective at the goal line. And again, I mean, this is something we've talked about this year. Getting Avery out of the pocket, giving him that natural run pass option puts pressure on the defense. And then, hey, you throw Dylan Edwards in the mix, and you're basically running, a speed naked, a speed boot, and you've got those two guys putting pressure on a defense. I mean, that's going to draw a load, and that's obviously what that does here. I guess the one criticism I have is Dylan Edwards does basically makes no effort at selling a route when he runs out into the flat. So would like to see better execution here, but this is excellent execution up front. I don't know if this was purposeful, but Will Ancio hiding behind Andrew Leingang there on at the right tackle position was excellent. I mean, he basically hid from the defense. Does a good job of being patient and then getting out at the right time. Avery has plenty of time to get that ball off before the pressure gets there, and obviously easiest touchdown that we've had so far this season. So love to see it. You've been asking for it. Great play call, great execution.
You guys ran it in the Cotton Bowl against Arkansas too. I think Andre
McDonald. Yep, Andre McDonald caught a touchdown against Arkansas, and I think we tried to run it against Baylor in 2013, and it did, for some reason it didn't work that game. But it's a little bit of a creative play, a little bit of misdirection, but just again, when you're in a goal to go situation, and especially with in an offense like ours where we're heavy 12 personnel or 22 personnel, which means 2 tight ends. In some form or fashion, sometimes 3. I think it's easy for a defense to look at those guys as blockers. I think that's what was done here. They thought Will Ancio was staying in his protection. And then you sneak him out the backside, when you're flooding the field and he's wide open, easy touchdown. And so great use of misdirection, great use of creativity. Would like to see that more often.
It's just another example, too, when Avery Johnson shows a willingness to run, the defense shows more respect to that. So when you get him out on the pocket, defenses are more honest. They forget about things like that, and you're going to have more stuff on the backside, too, where a defender, we talked about it, they're going to have to come up off their guy, and it's going to open up plays downfield in the passing game because Avery Johnson's made them respect his ability to take off and run and scramble. So
in the urgency of the urgency that they executed that play action bootleg with was excellent, right? I mean, it's Avery sprinting back to the handoff, and then when he fakes the handoff, he's sprinting out on the bootleg, and he's just giving you this impression that hey, I'm either going to dump this to Dylan Edwards in the flat or I'm going to take off the pylon. And you can see the defense reacted with similar urgency. Oh, guess what? I'm going to throw it to the other side of the field. So again, Avery's speed and his ability to run the football, his willingness to run the football, puts so much pressure on the defense and can set up things like this where you have a layup of a touchdown.
Yeah. This next one's a beautiful play design and beautiful ball to Garrett Oakley on a wheel route here. You get 30-plus yards, sets K-State up, down, 1st and goal at the 2, where they end up with a touchdown on a shovel pass on the next play. Curry, what do you see of the route combination here and how they free up Garrett Oakley?
Yeah, and this is something I think we ran last year in the Arizona game. But basically, I mean, with Dylan Edwards to the boundary, you've essentially got 4 receivers to the boundary, and so I think there was immediately some confusion from the defense. You've got basically a double post scheme of some sort to the boundary from your 2 outside receivers. I believe that's Sterling Lockett and Jerron Tibbs. Who do a good job. Sterling in particular does a good job of distracting that outside corner. I think Sterling probably could have been a little bit more urgent here, probably could have pushed up the field a little bit harder to grab that corner's attention. If he does, it's a walk-in touchdown. But excellent execution by Garrett Oakley here. Garrett gets on top of that flat defender. He gives a little nod to the flat as if he's running a flat route, which causes that corner to bite the corner, that flat defender to bite. That flat defender also sees Dylan Edwards sitting there in the flat, which causes him to bite as well. And then he turns the field up. He turns it upfield and gives Avery an easy target down the sideline. This is, again, it's excellent execution and a little bit of pressure here, but again, for the most part, the offensive line holds up well. I think just another example of a well-designed, well-executed play. Now, I do want to see, again, when I played, I was playing for guys who were perfectionists. I want to see more effort here from our 2 outside receivers. These guys know their decoys, and if you look at it, you can tell they know their decoys. And so, again, we need more urgency from those guys. We need them to sell their routes as if they're primary targets. We need Jerron to run that in route a lot harder to hold that safety. And we need Sterling Lockett to run the best post route he's ever run. 1, he might come open, and 2, he's going to grab that safety and take him to the post. And then Garrett Oakley is walking in for a touchdown. So this is well designed, it's well executed, but there's still a lot of room for improvement here that could have made this an easy touchdown.
That's a great call out. As you can see, if Sterling Lockett pushes that post route harder and sells it more, that safety goes to the right another 4 or 5 yards. He can't get there on an angle to make the play on Oakley at the 2.
Exactly. And I think sometimes that's the difference between a good team and a great team. And it's doing those little things. And of course, when you're a receiver, you want the football, and nobody wants to be a decoy, but everybody's a decoy at some point. Tyler Lockett was a decoy at some point. And so again, you have to take every every snap that you get, you have to take it you have to take it very seriously, and you have to perform, to the best of your abilities. And I think if we do that there, if Jerron runs an aggressive dig route and Sterling runs an aggressive post route where he's pushing on the feet of that defender and snapping it off on the post, then that's, again, a walk-in touchdown. And so I think it's an example of good design, good execution. A better execution is an easy touchdown. So I hope that that's what they're hearing in the film room, because that's what's going to make those little things are going to make this football team better.
Yep. All right, we got 6 more left. We'll get to them when we come back from a final break.
Chiefs Kingdom, I have got a question for you. What is your favorite touchdown? Well, for me, I can confidently say that my favorite touchdown, it's the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From the first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. From spreads to money lines, same-game parlays, regular parlays, you want it, DraftKings has got it. Here's the best part. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. I use DraftKings Sportsbook, and you should too. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, let's put a bow on this show and get through these last 6 plays here with Curry. This is a defensive play as we switch gears, and this is the 82-yard touchdown pass to UCF gets to get on the board first. K-State was up 10-7 at this point. Wesley Fair tries to jump the route, doesn't quite get there, and as a result, it turns into a home run play. But again, I don't know what Zayshawn Rich is doing either, Curry. There's nobody that he's covering, and I noticed live on the snap, like nobody went with the receiver. I wouldn't think Wesley Fair would be the single high here to cover that guy, but multiple errors here probably, I would guess. And I don't know. You dissect it. I don't want to weigh in too much before you give your thoughts.
Yeah. So what we're giving them here is a cover. The people call them differently. We're giving them a cover 8 or a cover 6 look. So we're giving them cover 4 to the field. So BJ Payne, Quay Moss, I think Donnie Mack are giving them a cover 4 look to the field, to the wide side of the field. And then to the boundary, we're giving them a cover 2 look. And so it's not that really that there's a bust here. The problem is it's just not good execution. Zayshawn Rich is obviously playing the flat here, which tells you it's cover 2 to the boundary. But when you're a cover 2 flat defender and you're a big corner like Zayshawn is, and you're playing kind of, you're given the impression of man coverage here, you cannot give that receiver free release. Your job is to misdirect, to reroute that receiver, and then you slide to the boundary or to the flat. And that should be easy here for Zayshawn, because there's not another receiver in his area. He's got one guy to focus on. And so I guess MA number 1, and missed assignment number 1 is Zayshawn not doing his job. He has to reroute that receiver. He cannot give him a clean release. And then I think ultimately Wes needs to, knowing that it's cover 2 to the boundary, and knowing that he's, that he's got to, to prevent the guy from getting over the top. I think he's got to close on that a little bit quicker. And ultimately, he tries to make a play on the football, and by not getting the football, he gives up a touchdown. So also be better about making a play on the receiver, not the football, when you're not sure you can get to the football. I can see a little bit why Wes was staying inside. He's probably worried about getting hit with a post route and getting beat over across his face. So I can kind of see why he's given that a little bit of time there, but he's got to close on that quicker. But ultimately, if Zayshawn Rich, if he reroutes that receiver, then that play is not successful. And so he's got to, and I know he's a young corner, but he's made some really good plays, and he's a big physical kid. He's got to get his hands on that receiver and make that receiver slow down and reroute, and then that play is dead.
Yeah. All right, another big play coming, 55-yard touchdown run by UCF. And Curry, look, this has been the story of Kansas State over the last 3 years on the defensive side of the football. While they've been solid for the most part, just too many big plays and explosives they've given up. And now, since 2023, K-State's allowed 39 plays of 40 yards or more. It is the second most in the Big 12 behind only Oklahoma State. So, another big play here. It's been a problem for this defense this year. And here you see that Donovan McIntosh and Logan Bartley. I think Logan Bartley essentially gets double teamed. But Donovan McIntosh comes in free, takes a terrible angle, just overruns the play and doesn't even get a hand on him, loses contain. And it's just, a race to the end zone, which UCF wins.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, I think this is the defense's issue so far this year, right? I mean, they've up until maybe, I guess the point of that last play, this defense was excellent. And this defense was excellent on Saturday outside of 5 or 6 plays. And that's been their MO all year, save maybe the Army game where they didn't give up any really big plays. But Iowa State, North Dakota, Arizona, and now UCF, the MO has been, hey, we're a really solid defense, and we're gonna make people work against us. But hey, we're gonna give up 4, 5, 6 explosives over the course of a football game that's going to change that football game. And so for this defense to improve, they've got to be better with gap assignment, gap execution, and assignment execution, and stop giving up so many explosives. If they do that, this defense has the capability of being a really, really good unit. I think, a number of issues here. I think Ryan Davis loses contain on the edge. Obviously difficult for him to fight through a double team. He's got to do a better job of trying to set that edge. Donnie Mack is also coming in behind him and trying to set that edge, and does not do a good job of closing that gap and taking a shot at that running back. I mean, ultimately he should never, when you're that guy who's, you've got the leverage, come in and take a shot at that guy. Chances are you're going to cut him down at his feet, or you're going to make him stumble up and somebody else is going to clean him up. But you cannot, in any circumstance, when you've got that outside contain, you've got that outside leverage, fall on your back. It's just not a good play. That's not what you want to see at this level. And then I think on the backside, Logan and Desmond Purnell, I think, need to do a better job of fighting off their blocks. And then that play doesn't go for a touchdown. But ultimately, Ryan Davis losing contain, problem number one, and Donovan McIntosh, just not a good effort on the outside.
Yep. Completely agree. All right, we'll roll to the 8th one here. This is a 4th and 2. Kansas State converts. Avery Johnson makes a play here. Again, what we have wanted to see. Avery Johnson can make people miss in the open field. Hopefully this gives him the confidence to be more assertive with his legs here as he puts this defender on ice, overruns the play, cuts it back in. I feel like Avery Johnson often in this scenario, Curry would just try to keep extending to the outside, the perimeter. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, he actually recognizes he can cut, he's got this defender in space, just cuts it up, picks up the first down, and gets Kansas State set up near the goal line. Now, you see Joe Jackson's reaction as well. You could make an argument that if he gives the ball to Joe Jackson here, that he could score. You see that D end kind of holding his position. He's off balance, though. I think Jackson probably gets it, but I don't have a problem with the read here from Avery Johnson. I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, and I guess just pointing out Joe Jackson, do not like when a receiver is open and they start flailing and jumping. And I mean, you have a job to do. You are running a route. By jumping up and down and skipping, you're not helping yourself. You're not making yourself more available. I mean, this is again, it's a little bit of a flood scheme. They're trying to give Avery a run pass option here. And he is, Avery is rolling out hard to the field, hard to his left, and Joe is jumping up and down, running up the middle of the field, obviously letting that defender close and also not giving Avery a target. If Joe wants to help himself here and potentially score a touchdown here, he needs to chase Avery, scramble with Avery, and run away from that closing defender, because where Joe is at, it's an impossible throw. So he is open, yes, but he covers himself up by jumping up and down and dancing. That's just not good execution. Ultimately, love this, love the effort here by Avery. He sees that he's out leveraged to the boundary by those three defenders. One who's being blocked does an excellent job of using a pump fake to get a defender on his heels. Great cutback and then great finish here, and great job down the field blocking by, I think that's Teron Tibbs and Isaac Koch. Excellent job there. And so again, just the difference maker that Avery Johnson can be when he's willing to run the football, because there are not a lot of defenders in a front seven of a Big 12 defense that can keep up with his speed and elusiveness. So great job again. Love rolling Avery out, giving him the run pass option, and great execution by Avery and great execution by our downfield blockers.
Yeah, to your point, Joe Jackson could have picked up one of those two defenders that came in to almost make the play. One of them did make the play. If he's jumping up and down, he can make a block on one of those guys. So.
And you're taught. I mean, never. I mean, sticking your hand up is one thing if you're on a deep route, because that's not. But you're not ever supposed to. I mean, certainly not jump up and down, because that slows you down and makes you less available. But you're taught not to be overly demonstrative when you're open. Execute your route, your assignment. And if you're intended to be the receiver, then the quarterback will find you. And if not, then go find work. Go find somebody to block. And so I think Joe takes himself out of the play by jumping up and down and makes himself less viable as a receiving option. And then worse, he doesn't go find work and doesn't go pick up a block. And so I hope, again, film room, great play. Great job by Avery. Good job by the three blockers on the perimeter. Joe Jackson, make yourself available. And if the quarterback's not going to throw you the football, turn and find work. And so again, just little things that we have to do to make ourselves a better football team.
Yeah. Not to pick on Joe Jackson. This is not intentional here, Curry, but the next play is a 3rd and 8 to Joe Jackson. And so, look, I don't know who's at fault here. The throw's high. K-State doesn't get it. They catch the ball short of the first by about 3 yards. The reason I included this, Curry, is because I remembered specifically the end of the play at the Army game, right, where the ball was off and Joe Jackson didn't run a great route. Well, here he kind of stays in to block for a second. Then he goes out in coverage, and it looks like he's maybe attempting like a little bit of an angle route. But again, what I see here, and this is where I try to pick up lessons learned from you, is I see the entire part of the field open as he crosses. Like if he just crosses there, I don't know what the route concept is he's supposed to run, but to me, if he just crosses, he's got a big play, but he runs like kind of a half-hearted angle route. I don't know. Like this is where I need your expert opinion to dissect it.
It's hard to say exactly what his route choice is once he leaves the backfield, but I guarantee you it's not 4-yard angle route 8 yards away from the defender. I mean, that's just not what these guys are taught to do, right? I mean, I'm guessing he's got an option route of some sort, right? And the option he took was the least of all the options available. This is no different than the play we talked about at the end of that Army game. He's coming out of the backfield. He's got an option route, or at the very least, he's got a design angle route, and he's got a defender giving him a ton of cushion. Right? And he makes no effort to chew up that cushion, to chew up that leverage. What he needs to do is he needs to run a full speed and urgent route, making that defender think, okay, he's going to run a flat route here. He's going to run a hard angle route here, and I need to chase to the boundary and then cut across his face on an angle, or just running a hard route to the boundary, on an angle route and catching the ball and getting upfield for a first down. But you have to attack the leverage of the defender, and cutting his angle route off 8 yards before he gets to that defender does no good. That defender has no pressure, no stress being placed on him. His leverage is not being forced there. And so ultimately Avery makes the throw, Joe makes the catch, but the defender has plenty of time to react and close. So just not good execution here by Joe Jackson.
Yeah. That's why I wanted your input on that, because it stuck out to me similar to the end of the Army game where it was picked off. So.
Yeah, you should. I mean, if you're a running back and you see that defender who is yours, is on you, and you see him giving you 8 to 10 yards of cushion, and I think the distance we needed there was 6 or 8 yards. When you see him giving you that much cushion and you see the middle of the field open, you should be licking your chops. If you run a hard angle route to get up to 5-6 yards, get within 2, 3, 4 yards of that defender, and then cut it hard across his face, run towards the middle of that football field, you probably go score a touchdown. So that, again, it's, I understand my assignment. I'm doing it. I think I'm doing it right. You're not doing it well. You're not executing well. You're not executing at the level of a Power 4 Big 12 football player. And that's again, we need to see improvement there. If he improves and runs that route like he should, touchdown. So another example of a play that was well designed and there was some level of execution there, but the execution has to be immensely better.
Nick, before we roll to the next one here, just a quick question on that, Curry. Like, watching the route combinations when Dylan Edwards was on the field, the few times he went out for routes, it felt like it was more to the boundary again, where they didn't run him across the middle of the field. Like, that play right there is a play I want to see Dylan Edwards running, because if they get him on a crosser in space or an angle route, like, we just never see them run him over the middle very much. I don't get it. Yeah. Like, that's frustrating to me that they just haven't figured out how to use him in the passing game.
Absolutely. And you put him in a situation like that where he's one-on-one with a linebacker, it's game over. It's game over. And obviously, as you know, and as the listeners know, football is a game of matchups, and you have to find a way to capitalize on those matchups. We've talked a lot about it this year in the context of getting our receivers the ball against zero coverage. And now that Dylan's healthy, it's getting Dylan Edwards the ball in space, getting him the ball in as many ways as you possibly can. And so you're right. I would love to see Dylan in that position. We've seen Deuce Vaughn do that in the past a little bit. We've seen us split Deuce Vaughn out and run some inside slant routes and make big plays there. I'm with you. We gotta put our guys in the right position. But Joe Jackson is a capable guy. Maybe hasn't had the best start to the season this year, but he's a capable guy. He's big. He's got some speed. He's got to be better. He has to be better in order to maintain snap share and to keep getting reps on the field. Otherwise, we have to give JB Price or Antonio Martin or Devon Rice, give somebody else a look because that effort, that execution is not good enough.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, Joe Jackson showed pass catching capability last year when I don't know what's going on. I also don't understand why Devon Rice suddenly has lost playing time, but that's maybe there's something else going on there. I thought he'd been solid when he was on the field for Kansas State. All right, we're going to go to the next one here. 2 more left, guys. This is the 4th and 7. Turns into a turnover on downs here. Avery Johnson makes the mistake of starting to retreat. Look, I know one thing you're going to want to highlight here is the scramble drill Curry and how everybody goes into the same space, and it's just a jumbled mess and everybody's bunched up. But one thing I also want to note from the end zone view here that I saw live watching it is, remember, we saw Avery Johnson take off and run right up the middle on that 3rd and 11 early in the game. This is a situation where I felt like Avery, the D end has outside leverage, right? You see that hole there from that end zone view? To me, Avery Johnson could take up right in between the guard and tackle right there and potentially pick up the first down versus rolling out to the outside leverage of that D end there. And then Avery Johnson has no chance at that point. But what do you make of everything?
There's a number of issues with this play, right? I think one is Avery gets out of the pocket way too soon, right? I think he tries to scramble before he needs to. I mean, that pocket is clean. I think UCF only brings 4 rushers there. One of whom gets chipped on the outside, the guy who ultimately chases him down. And so Avery needs to stand in the pocket longer. I think if Avery stands in the pocket longer, he's going to see some guys come open. I think Sterling Lockett is open-ish. I think Joe Jackson is open-ish. I think Jerron Tibbs kind of came open on his initial route. And so I think Avery needs to stand in that pocket longer, to trust that pocket to hold up. And I think he's going to be able to make a throw. And I think actually live, I thought, he should have threw a bullet to Garrett Oakley. I think Garrett Oakley was open past the sticks there on a deep stick route. So he had options. I think he got a little bit of happy feet there, got a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket, decided to get out. And I'm with you. The way that outside edge rusher was chipped by the running back, they're in sort of moves up field. There's an open there's an open running lane there. Avery could have taken off and run up the middle. Then I think Avery did, he scrambled back there for a little bit, but I don't hate to see it because these big D linemen aren't going to catch Avery Johnson. Then when he breaks contain on that rusher, he's got guys in front of him. He could have easily run for this first down. He's got a receiver in front of every single defender who's to the boundary, and he's obviously broken contain on that edge guy. I think Avery Johnson could have just put his foot down and went and got this first down. Then I think why I showed you this most ultimately was the scramble drill effort here is not good. And we've seen this multiple times this season. And I don't know if we're not practicing scramble drill or if our guys just aren't taking it seriously. But if you're a receiver, scramble drill is an opportunity for you to go make a play and to make a playoff schedule. And you'll see here that when Avery breaks contain on that defender, you've got all five of your receivers are within 10 yards of each other. All five of your eligible receivers are stacked upon one another at the boundary, giving Avery Johnson absolutely no option to throw to. And so we got to practice scramble drill better. It needs to be something we're practicing every single day. One guy goes high, other guy goes low. You've got to create levels in the scramble drill. One guy can run to the backside of the field there just to try to get open and create optionality for your quarterback. But we have to practice scramble drill. If we're already doing it, practice it more, be more intentional about it. And guys got to get more serious about, okay, when our quarterback who can run, when he scrambles, I need to go find work. I need to go make a play. I can tell you Tyler Lockett, and I think he's still this way to this day, was the best scramble drill receiver that I've ever seen. And he saw it as an opportunity that essentially it becomes 1v1 football, backyard football when my quarterback scrambles, and I'm going to beat the guy who's guarding me. And so really poor effort on the scramble there, and we've seen that numerous times this year. We have to be better at scramble drill.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you see it? Like, you have at least one receiver that goes downfield. Like, you can't have everybody coming up to your point. Like,
one guy go to the sticks, and there shouldn't be five guys to the field or to the edge. And obviously, the scramble kind of draws five guys toward that field. But guys got to create levels. One guy's got to run deep. One guy's got to come back to the football. And other guys got to find work in the middle. And that's just something you practice, right? You're trying to create space. You're trying to create leverage. And if you're all just deciding, I'm just gonna chase my quarterback and run and stack myself up on other receivers, then you're not playing high level football.
Yeah. And I mean, especially on a fourth down, how many times you see it, a guy, breaks deep, you just heave it up to him. You might get a PI.
Yeah. That's why, even there where you've got five guys chasing, Jerron Tibbs or Sterling Lockett, turn around and run back to the wide side of the field. Sure, that's not a great throw. You don't want your quarterback tossing the football across his body across the field, but chances are the outcome is you catch it, you draw a PI, or it falls incomplete. It's just it's such a stressful, chaotic play for a defense that chances are it's not going to be a successful one for them. But if you're a receiver, you've got to give your quarterback options.
All right, this last one we can go quick on, Curry. It's just a pretty simple outside run, 16 yards, Dylan Edwards. I just wanted to throw in another Dylan Edwards run to the perimeter. We could have used several of these that were well blocked and where he just gets to the edge and he outruns the defense. K-State does a really nice job. I don't know who that is, a tight end or is that a tackle?
You've got Sam. Sam Heck does an excellent job on this play. And I guess we need to give some credit to Sam because I thought he played really, really well on Saturday. I thought he did a lot of really nice things and he's a guy that obviously he's quiet natured and doesn't get a lot of love, but excellent job here by Sam Heck pulling out and getting all of that defender. Good. It's good job up front, right? I mean, you've got JB Nelson and I think that's Andrew Leingang on the right side do a good job of locking up their guys. Tight end on the edge does a good job of getting his guy hooked, and creating a running lane there for Dylan. And then you've got guys on the backside working up to second level. I think that's Taylor Portier who gets up and gets some of that linebacker on the second level, does an excellent job there. And you've got receivers out on the edge getting work. So it's well executed and it's well designed. Another really positive play. And again, I think this is some of the beauty of having Dylan Edwards back in the mix. Early in the season, we were seeing slow handoffs and we were seeing running backs who were slow to hit their hole. Here you see Dylan realizing that there's an opportunity here, that there's a big hole if he hits this thing hard, and he's doing just that. He's working behind his blockers. He's getting significant yards after contact, and he's finishing his run. So it's excellent by Dylan Edwards, and it's excellent by all the guys blocking for him. This is teach tape. That's good football right there.
And when you watch it, look where he got contacted, the 38-yard line, and he falls at 33. Picks up the next 5 yards after contact because he is always falling forward. And once again,
right at his feet, right? I mean, his feet are always moving, and that's just part of being fast, right? But he's so good at moving forward and getting yards after contact. And I just, that's the type of play that you see as a team And you've got to, we've seen examples where guys aren't showing good effort blocking on the edge, or they're not showing good effort on scramble drill or on a decoy route. But there you see a bunch of guys who are committed to run blocking, to set up a big play, a big yard gainer. And we need to see more of that. Guys have to be more committed to doing the little things right, even if it doesn't, necessarily directly benefit them. That's great football right there. And that's the type of football that can win you a lot of games.
It felt like K-State blocked better on the perimeter with their receivers or tight ends in this game. And maybe just knowing that the threat of Dylan Edwards can spring one, if you hold your block that extra second longer with a guy like that back there, maybe guys are a little bit more committed to it.
Yeah, I think, and some of that was just, I think there was just more juice on that sideline. And so guys are more into the game, which is in a vacuum in relation to this game. It's a good thing, but I'm not sure at the same time. I don't love that that after we beat, UCF at home to go to 2-3, that we're getting excited about the fact that our team was getting excited. You're playing high level football. You're playing in a great program with a great fan base, with a great coaching staff. You shouldn't have to force excitement or generate excitement. That excitement should be there. And so I guess I think everybody was glad to see it. It was a common talking point after the game. It was a common talking point in press conferences yesterday. But the flip side of that is, guys, 5 games in, we shouldn't be talking about how this team had more energy and excitement than they have all year. You were ranked 17th in the country coming into the season. You're playing again for a great program and a great conference for a great head football coach. Getting excited should be the last thing we should be worried about. And so was glad to see it on Saturday, but was not glad that we had to be excited that we saw it for the first time on Saturday, if that makes sense. And so I hope that's a recurring theme now. I hope that Dylan Edwards is successfully brought some longstanding juice to this football team, and I hope that it's something we're going to see on the road this weekend and when we come home against TCU next weekend. But again, when you're playing football at this level, many of these kids have dreamed of this opportunity. Many of whom, Dylan Edwards included, have dreamed of the opportunity of playing at Kansas State. You shouldn't have to get excited. That should come very naturally. That should be pretty organic.
Yeah, you only get 12 of these opportunities a year. You practice for 8 months out of the year and get in the weight room and work your butt off. You shouldn't have to manufacture energy.
Yeah, and now you get paid to do it. And I know some people look at that and say, well, they get paid, they don't care as much. I look at it as the opposite. Unless you're a senior with no desire to play at the next level and you're cashing it in, you should I mean, the money that you're getting paid now or hope to get paid in the future by K-State, another program, or the NFL should be all the motivation that you need. And so again, I just can't imagine being, especially an underclassman, but also a guy who's got aspirations to play at the next level. I can't imagine not giving good effort when everything you put on tape is going to dictate how much or how little somebody pays you at the college level, at the NFL level. And so again, I applaud the guys for coming out Saturday with energy and excitement. I love to see the passion, love to see the defense turning the football over, and making plays, and love to see, big yardage plays from our running game, but we shouldn't be talking about getting excited after 5 games.
Yeah. Score prediction for Baylor, Curry. Can they create that energy? Can they go play well? 6.5-point underdogs, and Waco, really big time offense they're going to be going up against, but a struggling Baylor defense that gives up points.
I think there's an opportunity there, right? I think 11 a.m. kick at Waco is a good scenario. I mean, that stadium is, especially Baylor coming off of a loss a couple weeks ago to Arizona State, and obviously the loss to Auburn. They lost to Auburn, right?
Yeah, they lost to Auburn in the opener. They beat us on State. They beat State last weekend, but they struggled. I mean, it was they get 27.
It was 27 to OSU, but I guess my point is, 2-loss, a Baylor team, 11 a.m. kick in that stadium. It's not going to be a juiced up crowd, and so that's a good opportunity for a road team. And I think, like you said, their defense is struggling. They give up 27 to an Oklahoma State team who could hardly move the football against Tulsa. And so I think there's there's opportunity there. But this is a great offense. Sawyer Robertson is a really good quarterback, and he's got really good weapons around him. This is a team that can score at will. I think they put up 600 some odd yards against Oklahoma State last week. And so our defense, while again, I think our defense has good pieces and executes well a lot of the time, we have to stop giving up explosives. If we give up too many explosives on Saturday, this game will be a runaway. But I think, this football team is good enough to go down on the road and get a win against Baylor, but it's going to require execution and attention to detail at a very high level on both sides of the football. And we haven't seen that yet this season. So I think we lose in a close one, 27-24, 30-27, something to that effect. And I hope like heck I'm wrong.
Well, Baylor, number 1 in the country with 70 completions of 10 or more yards, 7 nationally with 24 of 20 or more yards through the air, number 4 in the country with 12 completions, 30 plus yards. So it's going to be a big play type game. K-State's going to have to minimize some of those explosives for Baylor. They're going to go for a lot of fourth downs if they're in 4th and 2. Dave Aranda's notorious for doing that as well. Top 5 in the country the last few years in fourth down attempts and conversions. So look, hopefully they come out with energy, play well. If they could somehow win this game in Waco, you could feel a little bit of that excitement and buzz heading into a 2:30 kick against TCU next weekend. And I think K-State fans would all very much enjoy having a Saturday kick at home and kind of a big game type atmosphere again. That feels different.
First 2:30 game in what feels like an eternity. I think everybody's looking forward to that time slot, especially after last year getting so many night kicks. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would wants anything else other than the Cats to come home 3-3, 2-1 in the conference, and with a chance to play, a good TCU team in a raucous environment. I mean, I think that's what the fan base is looking for. So would love nothing more. And I guess another thing I just want to give a shout out to the fans. I think there's a lot of discussion about this on Twitter, but very few places in the country does a team start 1-3 and then come home to a sold out stadium and a near record crowd. And I know there were complaints about people leaving it late in the first half and not coming back right after halftime ended, but I was thoroughly impressed by the attendance at Saturday's game and by the level of energy in that stadium. And so I think just our fans deserve a big shout out, because in a world where it's easy to get frustrated, especially after the first 4 games and where, people have all their different thoughts about the stage of where we're at with NIL and everything else. 11 a.m. kick coming off a bye week, 1-3. That stadium could have been a third empty, 2/3 full, and our fans showed up in full force. And so big shout out to the fans. I thought the attendance on Saturday was excellent.
It's well said, Curry. And by the way, the attendance was pretty solid at that Wildcat NIL tailgate, which returned on Saturday against UCF. I made my way over, met some buddies over there. We actually were the ones that closed down the tailgate. So sorry, Jace.
There you go.
Everybody had to hang around.
And I guess we'll say we'll have another tailgate at the TCU game. Doing it differently this year. Our spot is over by the rowing facility, and we're having everything catered and set up by Hy-Vee, so it's a little bit more professional and a little bit better run than maybe it was last year, and so we think it'll be more enjoyable. So if you're a Wildcat NIL member, or want to be a Wildcat NIL member, come join us for that tailgate on October 11th.
It is single-handedly just attending one of those tailgates worth the price of admission for a monthly membership for Wildcat NIL at catsnil.com. So go get signed up over at catsnil.com. My buddies all love it over there. I actually liked where it was at over by the road.
We liked it better too. We thought we were going to we fought like crazy to get moved back, and then we got there and we were like, oh, I kind of like this. So it's great.
Big grass area right off Kimball as you're crossing the crosswalk right there. Easy access to it right across the street. So you got the crosswalk pedestrian walk, and you come right there. You're there. You got music playing over there. You got beer. You got great food. Everybody I talked to was raving about the food that was catered in by Hy-Vee. So great setup. And again, I would just emphasize anybody who is considering being a Wildcat NIL member. There's a couple more of those tailgates left on the season, starting with TCU next week, and you're going to get your money's worth just by having a few beers and the great food over there. And it's a good time.
And I guess if we find a way to go on a winning streak, we'll probably do it at every home game. So give us a reason, I guess, K-State football, give us a reason to have a tailgate at every single remaining home game. We would all.
Yeah, give me a reason to bring my family over for the Colorado game as well, and freezing temperatures.
Yeah, and 2 days after Thanksgiving, exactly. Yeah, I would love nothing more.
Yeah, I think we all would. All right, well, hey, we appreciate our guy Curry Sexton as always. We appreciate Nick Springer behind the scenes for producing the show. Get on over to Holiday Distillery or get to your local liquor store, pick up some Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon. Go to alencohome.com, ALENCO home.com for all your home improvement needs. Get over to catsnil.com for the Wildcat NIL membership. Appreciate Curry, appreciate Nick, and appreciate all of you for listening to another episode of 3 Ball.